Hello, welcome back to episode 5 of Linux Crash Course Series 2025 from level beginner to advanced. In the last video, we had discussed about what is a directory and how to create a directory and what are the types of directories in our system. And then even we had discussed about Linux file system and navigation. And in that we had discussed about how to list the directories of our system, and then we had discussed about how to list the subdirectories of a directory, and then we will discuss about how to list the subdirectories of a directory without entering into that directory. And even we had discussed about how to move from a directory into the subdirectory of the directory. And for this session, we will discuss about how to list the permissions of files and directories in our system. And then we will see how to find the file size of every directory in human readable form. And even we will see how to see the hidden files in our system. And then we will explore subdirectories of the root directory. And then in that we will see how to what how the structure of user directory is involved, and then we will see how to create and remove how to how to create and remove directories and files in our system. And then we will create a test folder, and then we will create a new file, and we will edit that file with nan with nano and vim editors. And before getting into the session, let me introduce myself. This is Chaitanya, and you are watching my channel. It's beginning. And now let me show you how to list the permissions of files and directories of your Linux operating system. For that, first you need to enter into the root directory of your Linux operating system. For that, you need to enter a command cd space slash. When you hit enter, sorry, something done wrong. For that, you need to enter the command cd space slash. When you hit enter, you will directly enter into the root directory of your Linux operating system. If you have any doubt in which directory you are in, you will enter by entering a command pwd present working directory command. You will know that in which directory you are in. Here you can see that I am in root directory of my Linux operating system. It shows that if in this way you can know in which directory we are in. And now let me show you how to list the permissions of files and directories of my Linux operating system. For that, I need to enter a command ls space hyphen and small m. When I hit enter, it gives the output of permissions of my files and directories of my Linux operating system. Here we can see that. And let me zoom in my screen for the clear visibility. Here we can see that. These are all the permissions of my files and directories of my Linux operating system. In this way, it gives the output. And when it comes to detailed information of these output, and here the first column gives the information about the permission of that file or a directory. And the third and the second column gives the detailed information about the number of hard links that are present for that directory or a file. And the third column displays the information about the username of that file owner. And the fourth column displays the information about the group of a group that owns the file, means in for which group it owns the file. And the fifth column gives the memory size of that file of which directory in bytes. And the next three columns gives the information about the latest modification time of that file with month, date, and year. And the last column um, displays the information about like files and directories of the Linux operating system. Here we see that in this way we will know about the permissions of my directories and files of my Linux operating system. When it comes to detailed information of these permissions, here the first character is responsible for the file type. File type File type means here when the first character is D, then it is a directory. And when the first character is L, then it is refers the file type is link. And when the first character is hyphen, then it refers to it is a regular file. Means here you can see that yeah, file.txt is a Linux file. Means it is a regular file. And even here you can see that here the first character is L. Means here the bin directory has the links. Here even you can see here also. Here the lib directory also have links means here the first character has L. In this way, here you can see that mnt is a directory, and when it comes to permissions of that mnt directory, here you can see that here the first character has D. Means here the first characters are responsible for the for to know for to know the file type of that file type means if it is a directory or a link or a regular file. To know the file type, here the first character plays a key role. And when it comes to next nine characters, those are all the responsible for the for the permissions like to accessing the file, creating the file, or editing the file, or displaying the file. Means here R allows us to list the directory or a file of your Linux operating system, and the W character is responsible for to allow us to create or rename or deleting the file or a directory of your Linux operating system, and the X character allows allows us to into the directory and access the file or accessing the file. Here the R character is responsible for to list the file, and the W character allows us to create or deleting or uh, removing or renaming the file. But and then X character is responsible uh, for for allowing us into the directory and accessing the file. Means when it comes to detailed information of these characters, here the after the first characters, the remaining nine characters are divided into three categories. Means first character category is first three characters, and the second category is next three characters, and the third category is last three characters. Here the first category is responsible for the permissions of the owner. Means here the owner can list the files of that directory, and even the owner can create or rename or delete the files in this docker directory, and even the owner can uh, enter into the directory, and even he can access the file. But when it comes to the second category, it displays the permissions of the group. Means group, but here the group members can list the directory, but they can't create the files or delete the file or renaming the file in that directory, but they can access the files from that directory. Means here the X character is there and R character is there, but W character is missing. So they can't. So the group members can't create or rename or delete the files in this Docker directory. And when it comes to last category, These three characters are responsible for the permissions of others or the users. Means here the users can list the files of this directory, or here the users can list the directory, and even they can access the files of the directory, but they can't create or renaming or deleting that directory. And let me clear the clear some doubts with another example. Here, for example, when it comes to file, Linux file or regular file.txt. Here the first character refers that it is a regular file. When it comes to permissions of the owner, here the owner can list that file, and even he can write the file or edit the file or delete the file. He has that rights, but he cannot access access the file. And in the same way, when it comes to permissions of the group members, here the group members can list the file, but they cannot write in that file or delete in that file, or they cannot rename that file. They have permissions for only to list that file. And when it comes to the permissions of the users or others, here the others can list the file, but they cannot write, delete, or rename that file, and even they cannot have access to enter into that file. Means here the directory is missing, so they cannot enter into that directory to access the file. Means it is a file. It is a file type. It is not a directory. So we don't need to enter into that directory. Here you can see that if it is a directory, for to access the file, we need to enter into that directory. So here the exe characters are present. But when it comes to the Linux files, here Linux file is not a directory. It is a only regular file. So for that it doesn't have any directory. So the X character is absent. And let me give another example. Here you can say that when it comes to DEV directory, here you can see that first character displays the file type, means D. Here it is a DEV is a directory. Yes, it is a directory. And when it comes to permissions of the owner. Here, the owner can list the directory, and even he can create or rename or delete the files in that directory, and even he can directly enter into the directory and access the files. Means yet these directory contains files. Here when it comes to regular file, it is already a file. This already a file, but this file is not in the directory. So what is the use of X character here? Here we don't use the X character, means we do not enter into the directory for to access the file, because it is a file. So we don't need to enter into any directory. We just directly click when we will directly access that file without entering into the any directory. So X character is absent in this permission. And when it comes to next three characters or next three characters means permissions of the group members. Here the group members can access that here the group members can list the directory, and even they can access the files of that directory, but they cannot have rights to create or delete or rename the files in the directory. And when it comes to others, here the others can have right to list the directory, and even they can have the right to access that directory files, but they cannot have right to rename or create or delete the files in that directory. In the same way here, the regular type file, here the owner have permissions to list that file, and owner have permissions to create or delete or rename that file, and they cannot have here then for to entering into that directory to access the file, it is no need. So X character is absent. And when it comes to group permissions, here the owner can list that file, but the sorry, here the group members can list the files, but they cannot have rights to rename or delete that file. And in the same way, the others also have permissions to list that file, but they cannot have uh, rights to rename or delete that file. In this way, the permissions are described for the directories on files of our Linux operating system. And now let me explain how to find the file size of every directory and file in human readable form. When we enter a command ls-l, here ls is responsible for to list the all files and directories of our Linux operating system, and L tells to the ls to list of all files and directories of your Linux operating system with detailed information. In this way, we will get uh, these output as permission, as we can see permissions, roots, how many username, group owns, and hot links. And here you can say that here we can see the file size, but here the file size is irregular. Means we don't know these are in bytes, in how many bytes. Like to see to get to to get to know clarity about these file size type in human readable form, we will use a command ls ls dash l and small h. When you enter these command, here ls is responsible for to list the all files and directories of our Linux operating system, and l tells to the ls to list the all files and directories with detailed information, and this h tells to these ls and l list the files and directories with detailed information in human readable form. And here you can see that here you can see the difference between this command and this command. Here you can see that when in here the numbers are in thousands, and even in lakhs, but here the numbers are in single or double digits. And here you can see that here the 16K and 2.2 megabytes and 4.0 kilobytes. And in this way, we will know the file size in human readable form. And then let me show you how to see the file types and directories of our Linux operating system. And for that, let me clear my screen. When we enter a command ls space hyphen and capital F, here you can see that for each and every listed item, you can see at the end of each and every listed item, it adds a character. Here you can see that it adds a slash symbol, and it adds a thread symbol, it adds star mark symbol. What these symbols refers to? Let me say about that. Here, first, let me say about what these command. Here, ls is used to list the directories and files content, and capital F is an option adds a character to the end of each listed item to indicate its file type. Means the here f will say to ls to add a character at the end of you to know what type of file you are. And here you can see that it adds when the symbol is slash, it's said to be that it is a directory. And if the symbol is star, and it will say to be that it is a executable file. And if the symbol is at rate, then it is said to be as a as it consists symbolic links. In this way, we will describe the file. We will know the file type of the listed item in our Linux operating system. But here you can see that here file.txt doesn't have any color in this list. Because why? Because means here that the characters will store into this text file with no color, and these characters will store in these text files in Azure form. So we don't see colors, any color for these listed item. And now let me show you how to see the hidden files of your Linux operating system. When you enter a command ls space hyphen and small l and small a, these displays the hidden files of your Linux operating system. Here you can see that. And here single dot refers to current directory and double dot refers to parent directory. And even we can see the hidden files of a directory also. For that, let me enter, sorry, for that, let me enter into etc directory. For that, I need to enter a command cd space and etc. So when I enter into the etc, let me clear my screen. And when I enter into the etc directory, and when I enter a command ls space and hyphen small l uncapped small a, then these will show the hidden files of my Linux operating system. Even you can see that. And even when I enter ls space small l, it does not show the files of current, it does not show the current directory and parent directory. But here you can see that it shows the current directory and parent directory of this directory. In this way, we will see the hidden files of our directory or a system. Even it can show that it starts from package.kit. But here you can see that here these four are the hidden files of the etc directory. And after displaying the hidden files, and then it started from, and then it printed from package kit. But here you can see that it directly printed from package kit. But here it after but here after displaying the hidden files, then it displays the directories and files of these etc directory. And in this way, will display the hidden files of our system or a directory. And now let me show you how to export the subdirectories of a directory. For that, let me clear my screen before, and let me enter into the root directory of my Linux operating system. And, after entering into the root directory of my system, Let me list the directories of my operating system. And here we can see that. And then, and now let me list the directories. Now let me list the subdirectories of etc directory. For that, I need to enter a command ls space etc, and this command helps to list the subdirectories of a directory without entering into that directory. In this way, we will see the subdirectories of directory. And here we had seen the subdirectories of a etc directory without enter into that directory. Here we can see that I'm in root directory, but I had explored the subdirectories of this etc directory. And let me enter into the subdirectory of kernel. And for that, I need to enter a command ls space etc slash kernel. And when I enter these commands, this will help to uh, list the subdirectories of kernel subdirectory of etc directory. In this way, we will directly list the subdirectories of this subdirectory of this directory. And here I did not went to the kernel directory, but I had listed the subdirectories of this directory. And this kernel directory, it is a subdirectory of etc directory. And in this way, we will list the subdirectories of this directory. Even we will list the subdirectories of this subdirectory also. For example, if I continue through this command by entering hosting dot p, by entering this subdirectory, even it shows the subdirectory of this subdirectory. In this way, we will explore the subdirectories of the root directory without entering into that directory. And now let me show you the structure of user directory. For that, let me enter into the user directory. And yes, I had entered into that directory. And when I enter a command ls, it lists the all directories and uh, files of this directory. Here you can see that it listed all the directories of user directory. And for to enter into that directory, let me enter into the sbin subdirectory of user directory. For that, let me clear my screen. And for to enter to sbin directory, I need to enter a command ls space sbin. In this way, we will enter from one directory to ls another subdirectory. Here you can see that I had listed the subdirectories of this sbin subdirectory, but I did not went into the sbin directory. I am in the root directory of this user directory. And now let me show you how to create and remove the directories and files. For that, before that, let me clear my screen. Uh, Let me enter into the user root directory. And after listing the files and directories of this user directory, let me create a directory with name test. For that, I need to enter a command mkdir space test. And this may here we had we are ordering this operating system make a directory with the name of test by entering the command mkdir. And when I hit enter, it will make the text directory in in this user direct in this user directory. For example, when I list the directories of this user, here we can see that the test directory is added to this user root user directory. Here you can see that here the test directory is not there, but here after making these test directory, when I again list these users directories, then I have seen that the test directory is added, and even we will create the subdirectories of this test directory also. For that, you need to enter command like test most test one and seal test and then ls. And here you can see that here what actually I had done means here I had made a test directory. So, but to create a subdirectory for this test directory, I had ordered that make a directory of test make a directory in test with the name of test1. Here, actually, the command me what this describes means. Here, I had create a directory with using a command mk directory with the name of test. As here you can see that. But what this slash test1 is when we add slash test1, it will add the subdirectory to this test directory with the name of test1. Here you can see that when I enter into that test directory by entering a command cd space test, here you can see that I had entered into the test directory. And then when I listed the files and directories of this test directory, it gives the output as test1 is the directory of this test directory, and it but it is a subdirectory of this test directory. In this way, we will create a directory, Indian directory. And let me give another example for these. Uh, for suppose, first let me get back into the root directory of this user, and when I create mkdir and test slash here when I enter these mkdir space test8 slash test9 command, here it gives error. Let me explain about these command what refers to. Means here I had ordered this system to create a test9 subdirectory in test8 directory. Here the difference between these command and these command is here the test folder is already exist, but here the test8 folder does not exist. Means here the test directory is already there. Here we can see that here the test directory is there. So uh, it will create the test1 subdirectory in test directory. But here the test8 directory is not there in this user. But we ordered to create a test9 directory in test8 directory. So as absence of test8 directory, it does not create a subdirectory in test8 directory. For to make these subdirectories in a not existent directory, it has a way. For let me show that way. For to create subdirectories in absence directories, you need to enter a command in this way. Like here, what happened means Here we had ordered to create a directory with the help of mkdir-p command. We had ordered to create test8 directory and then and then to create a test9 subdirectory in test8 directory. Means what actually means here test8 directory is not there. So we made first we had made a test8 directory by entering a command mkdir-p, and then we had made a test9 directory in test8 directory. Let me show you. Here, when I listed the directories, here we can see that test8 directory is appeared in this output here, but the here we it does not have any test8 directory in before displaying test. So here we have made a test8 directory, and then we have made a subdirectory test9 in test8 directory. Even I will show that subdirectory also. When I enter this command here, it displays the subdirectory of this test8 directory. In this way, we will make a subdirectory in a directory which does not exist. And even it is also one way to create a subdirectory to a directory. And let me show you how to remove the directory from this user. For example, if I want to remove test directory, for that I need to enter a command rm space dash or and space test. And here we can see that after listing the directories, here the test directory is not appear. So it has removed from this root user. And let me show you another example by removing the test8 directory. For that, I need to enter a command rm space dash r and test8. When I hit enter and when I listed the directories, here you can see that the test8 test8 directory is also removed from this list. In this way, we will create and remove the directories and subdirectories also. And as the video has already gone too long, so we will continue the remaining topics like creating a test folder and creating a new file, and we will on the editing of that file with the BAM and the Nano editors. We will see in the next session. And that's it for this video. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And thank you.